Hello guys, my name is Gavin, and this will be a video on how to toggle the fire rate of your weapon inside the Blender game engine. I will be using a little bit of Python, and I'm just going to get started. So to start off, what we're going to do is double click the A button until everything is selected and hit X and delete. Let's then do spacebar and then add an empty object. Let's do this be cube. And I'm going to go into our second layer right here. Do spacebar and then add a surface sphere. Add surface sphere, hit Alt and C and convert it to a mesh. Let's then rename the sphere as bullets, like this. Drag this in. Let's go from defaults to game logic and go from Blender render to Blender game. On our cube in the middle, let's add a always sensor, like this. Click those first three dots. Do add actuator and motion. Let's do 0.6 for the speed on the y-axis. Connect these like this. And hit P and you can see that sphere is now going to move forward like that. Let's now go back into layer 1. Right click on our empty object. And let's add 4 sensors and 2 actuators to our Python controller. So an always sensor is first. A mouse sensor is second. I'm going to rename this mouse sensor as click and click tap like this and minimize it. Add a third mouse sensor. This will be called full auto. And don't click anything else. Don't click tap or anything, and minimize this. Last, let's add a keyboard sensor. This will be spacebar. Click tap and put the spacebar key in here. Before we continue, let's add a game property. It'll be a Boolean. And we'll call this as burst mode. That'll be the name of the property. And this will be the Boolean operator that determines whether or not our weapon is full auto or just a single shot. So let's now add a Python controller like this and minimize this. Or connect these. Not minimize it, connect these, sorry. Last, let's add 2 actuators. This first one will be an edit object actuator. I'll name it as add object and I'll put the time as 100. Add the bullet inside of here. And minimize this and connect it to our script. Last, let's add what would be a good thing to add? Oh, property actuator. I'll rename this property actuator as toggle, change its mode to toggle, and let's put the burst mode property in there and connect it. Alright, what we're now going to do is create a script for our game, and it'll be text and open create text block. Hit Control and scroll up on your mouse to make your text larger. And then first, let's import the BGE and define the controller and owner inside of our scripts. So const is going to equal bg.logic gets current controller. This own is going to equal const.owner, like that. Next, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to drag this in. We're going to define 3 different functions for our game. So let's have define single shots mode. We'll use that function for when we're our player is just doing single shot only. Then we'll have define full auto mode, like this. And the last function we're going to define is define main. And let's actually run the main function at the bottom like that. Between our single shot mode and our own lines, let's add our 3 sensors. So click is going to equal count.sensors. Click full auto is going to equal count.sensors full auto. And space is going to equal count.sensors space. So these just right here, these are sensors right here. Just underneath it, we're going to do actuators. So for our actuators, we've got our add object is going to equal count.actuators, add object, and toggle is going to equal count.actuators, toggle, like that. Alright, now that we've got that, what we want to do is inside of our main function, we want to have it so that if we press the spacebar, it'll toggle this Boolean operator property. So if we click this I and do game and then show debug properties and hit P, we can see in the top left corner of our game view it's going to have burst mode is equal to false. So we're going to change that up just a little bit. I'm going to drag this down and show you guys more of it. So inside of our main function, let's have if space.positive. So if we press the space bar, we're going to do content activates toggle like this. So it's going to toggle that property true or false. Below this, what we're going to do is have if own, and I forgot the name of our property for a second, burst mode. So if our player is currently in full auto or burst mode, we're going to run the full auto scripts. So full auto mode like this. And if we're not fully automatic, or if we're in the single shot mode, we're going to do single shots and mode, and we're going to run that function. Inside of our single shot mode function, since our click sensor is just going to be the one where it reads once, we're going to do if click dot positive. We're going to do const activates, and let's have add object like this. Alright, inside of our full auto one, we're going to do if full auto dot positive. We're going to do const activates add object like that. So you should see that if I hit P to play, oh wait, we didn't add our script yet. I'm going to rename this as gamescripts.py, and I'm going to add this right here inside of our Python controller. So if we hit P to play, you can see the burst mode is currently false right now, and every time I click, it's just adding 1. But if I set it to true and hold it down, it'll put out a flurry of spheres that we're adding. So false, true, false, true. Alright, I'm now going to go over the script just one more time since this is a longer script than usual. So at the top of our script, we've imported the BGE, and just like how a lot of my other videos are, we define the controller owner, the sensors, and the actuators. We have right here our single shot function. This will only run when we're currently not in the burst mode, and the one below it, the full auto, will run when we are in a burst mode. Inside of our main function, which will run every time, it runs every time. If we press the space bar, it'll activate the toggle property, so it'll toggle between the burst mode and the single shot mode. Right here, if the Boolean burst mode is equal to true, it'll run the full auto script, and if it's not true, it'll run the single shot script. Alright guys, I hope you found this useful.